Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Special Friday night live stream here on the Toy Anxiety channel. My name is Craig Goldberg. Tonight, it's all about Star Wars. We did one of these a couple months back, 3 months ago, 6 months ago. I don't know. The state of Star Wars. A lot has changed in that time in the world, especially my world. Give it up on Star Wars Black Series. I'm going to talk about it till I'm blue in the face. And we're going to introduce our guests and my co-host tonight. Thank you guys for being here. We'll get to the chat here in a few. We appreciate everybody being here. You guys supporting YHS and Toy Anxiety. Normally on Tuesday nights, but we're doing, like I said, a special Friday night stream. Joining me as always, all the way from Vancouver, British Columbia, where I guarantee there's a blizzard and an avalanche. What's going on weather-wise? We got to talk about weather. My favorite topic.
Weather anxiety.
Yes.
Well, we got a wind coming in from the north.
Nice.
And it's actually coming in from the northeast. It's hammering right now down in Seattle. We are expecting snow today in about another hour. We had some snow earlier this afternoon. It is like -5 outside, Canadian wise, and for the West Coast, that is cold because we are by the water. Yeah, so we are it is cold. It feels really cold, but you know what? I love it. I love it when it's this cold.
It's like Hoth,
dude. I love Hoth,
or as George Lucas calls,
Kijimi is another one that I love. I love Kijimi from Rise of Skywalker. In fact, that's probably there's so many good things about Rise of Skywalker except the actual movie. And so
hold on. Before we started, Ryan gives me a big speech about being positive and not dogging on Star Wars. I love that.
I am. I pulled a Craig is what I did.
Yeah, I love it.
Typical Craig behavior.
You know, much like Rey looking into the mirror under that lake or wherever she was in The Last Jedi and seeing her own reflection. That's what I just saw. Well, Ryan, thanks for being here. We gotta introduce our special guest tonight. I'm really excited. Mike Tarkin. Mike, we've kind of circled each other's circles. You know, we've kind of you are from the Sandcrawler podcast. You've worked a lot in the toy collecting world, the Star Wars collecting world, with our good friend Jake Stevens from Forlom to Zuckus. And I always go back in my mind, I don't know if I found the Sandcrawler first or if I found from Forlom to Zuckus first, but we had reached out to Jake a long time ago.
Right.
And you kind of started listening to us. We were listening to you. It's been a long time coming. Welcome to the channel. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much. Really glad to be here. Back talking Star Wars figures. I'll see what I can muster up. But I would like to say, before we get going, that it is, although the West Coast of Canada has experienced cold chill, it's actually 50 degrees Fahrenheit in southwestern Ontario tonight. So
there you go.
You can keep that weather up there.
There you go.
So anyway, yeah,
that's good.
There's your weather,
good, weatherman voice. I like that.
I think you guys met Jake first. He certainly got a bigger circle than we did. So, but it was like one of those cool team ups that we tried to make happen, but then Dan and I quit, so we couldn't do it. So,
right. Well, I did want to say, you guys are not actively doing Sandcrawler podcast anymore, but it's all still available. You know, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Incredible deep dive knowledge on Star Wars toys and action figures. And just a really good resource. Fun to go back and listen to those episodes. Evergreen content. That's what we call it in the biz.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing it. I like to think we almost single-handedly brought the power of the Force back onto people's radar, which was a pretty big deal for Dan Gardan. So, I can for all my bitching over the years about articulation and this and that, I still got Power of the Force on the shelf. So, I think we did that.
No, you guys talked about Power of the Force so much that I was, waking up with cold sweats thinking about those green card backs, heading to the local store. Here, let's start here. We're going to cover a lot of ground. We're going to say hi to the chat in a second, but just, picking everybody's brain. It's 2022. Power of the Force 2 started in what, 97? 94? Okay.
94, 95?
Yeah, mid 90s. Yep.
So we're almost at 30 years.
If you're not sure, watch Flippin' Star Wars on the Toy Anxiety channel. Because I'm giving pretty much a breakdown of the history of the lead up to that series. But anyway, sorry, continue.
No, well, my question is, you go to any vintage toy store in America, you're going to find a 90s Star Wars section, usually pretty big, usually pretty full. Prices tend to be $5 a figure, $10 a figure, sometimes $15 a figure.
Mm-hmm.
Do we ever see a set of circumstances or a scenario where we see a true increase in the price point? Because what I want tonight to be is, if you're new to Star Wars collecting, if you are not sure where to start, or if you're a longtime collector, I want to give some professional advice and guidance, because I'm starting to circle the wagon on starting a true 90s Power of the Force Star Wars collection. And I feel like I need to dig in now, because it would be just my luck that right before I start, all of a sudden, for some reason, we start seeing prices go up. So, Mike, and let's start with you. In your history as a collector, prices really hasn't changed on that stuff.
I think they're slowly starting to creep up, at least sort of local Facebook marketplace ads. People think they have something, vitally rare and important,
Right.
I think if you're maybe hitting an antique store or thrift market or something like that, yeah, you'll still find $5 a figure, that kind of thing. I think it seems to me that anything Star Wars aftermarket is just, it is creeping up. I think the deals are tougher to find, but also, yeah, Power of the Force is still affordable.
Right.
And I think its original look in those first couple of years, at this point, to me, for a lot of collectors, it's as iconic as the original Kenner line. It's the line that got me into collecting as somebody that, I was a teenager by the time Empire Strikes Back came out, so I wasn't playing with Star Wars figures. So that whole side of things went away for me, and when the 90s hit, I was hooked.
Right.
So to me, they're as important as like I said, as the original Kenner line. So
right. Ryan, I want to go to you on the same topic, and I've got things to say as well, but I guess we should say hi to the chat. A lot of people hanging out already on a Friday night. We appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you hit that like button. No like goal tonight, but the more you guys leave comments and interact in the chat, the better it is for us. Gets that Toy Anxiety word out there, because this week we are not up for the I don't know, what was the award show, Ryan? The fake Jeffries? What was that award that Geek Dad Life got nominated for?
Oh God, I don't know.
Well, there's go vote. Not that that's really great information, but there's somebody doing some toy awards, and there was a category for best YouTube personality or toy podcast, and there was literally 100 nominees, and Toy Anxiety did not make it, and I'm very upset. I've been steaming all day. There is a write-in ballot option, so I think next Tuesday we're gonna have.
Oh, is that what we're gonna do? We're gonna have at it.
Yeah. That's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
The Nerdies, there you go. Matt Bush, the Nerdy Awards. There you go. So let's go ahead and say hi to the chat. Jacob Walsh hanging out in the chat. Yeah, who is
great
stealing
question.
You know, one thing about the Jeffries is we don't let the people vote. It's an inside job.
Exactly.
Friday Night Hangman is here. Kayla Silva's here. Hello again, Matt Bush. Flash is here. AJ Quick. Wheels of Chaotic Doom. Mike Davis. Geek Dad Life. Totally Rad Dad. Thunder Buddy. Peak Obi-Wan. Riley Bob. Tony Taylor. Ostradamus. A lot of familiar names. You guys are hanging out. Gotham Stalker. You know what I realized since the pandemic? You used to never want to stream on a Friday night because no one's home. Everybody got used to being home. Nobody leaves the house anymore. I know I don't. Collect with Chris, Jay, Andrew. Let's see who else. KJ's here. Vasco is here, and so on and so on and so on. Bot Boy versus. I know I missed some people, but we appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll take some questions and talk to you guys here in the chat. Let us know if you want us to tackle any specific Star Wars collector topics. We're happy to do it. Tonight's a free form episode full of nothing but positivity. Now, having said all that, Ryan, I don't really remember. I was not collecting toys in any kind of meaningful way when Power of the Force started. Star Wars really wasn't even on my radar until the special editions. I was a little bit, I watched a little bit as a kid. My older cousins all loved Star Wars. It was not my thing as a child born in 84, but very much became my thing once those first VHS releases came out, or not the first, these VHS releases, the Empire Strikes Back, Stormtrooper, the half facers, that's what I call them. Right. And then obviously the special editions, but toy collecting, I was into wrestling toys, but not Star Wars toys. So Ryan, what was your, walk us down memory lane? That's what I want to know for Power of the Force.
So Power of the Force, it was weird because if I was already at this point big into comic books by 91, 92.
Okay.
So I'm at the comic book shop at least once a week. And so right now my big focus is the X-Men toys. So at this point, X-Men and the Toy Biz Marvel Superheroes line were kind of more my gateway into collecting toys.
Okay.
It's funny, not even really Batman until Batman Forever. That's beside. Let me go back. Comic book store.
I asked you if you like Power of the Force, and it took 2 seconds to talk about Batman Forever. I love that. That's classic Dole. That's awesome.
That's my biggest fear being a guest on here. I know no other toy lines.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
This is good.
A that'll
problem.
That'll keep us in line. That'll keep us in line.
So at that time, Star Wars is already starting to creep up and become on the radar at comic shops through Dark Horse Comics. So they're doing a Jabba the Hutt series, Tales of the Jedi. There was a droid series. So this stuff was already starting to creep up on the shelves. And then you would see at the comic shops as well, the Bendhams.
Oh,
right.
God,
so, right.
So we're talking the early 90s. They're starting to put out stuff like that. The Star Wars Galaxy magazines, which you can find me again. You find me reviewing here on this channel on Flippin' Star Wars, and as well as they were doing stuff like the Star Wars Technical Journal magazines. So it would have foldouts and spans and all this stuff. I actually have the hardcover book. I'll do that on an episode of Flippin' Star Wars at some point as well. So at this point, Star Wars is already kind of giving back my memory. And then I started being I'm getting kind of So I started I dug out all my old Star Wars toys. This is early 90s. And I was then all of a sudden the THX ones came out because now the THX movies are priming us for the special editions. So as the THX ones come out and then the Power of the Force hits, then the special editions, which lead us, boom, right into episode 1. So the 90s was very strategic in how they just planted all the right seeds to get you back into it without realizing you were back into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
real quick, that
great
THX, the VHSs, those George Lucas interviews, the 3-part interview that plays before each one.
Oh yeah.
That I have seen that complete interview more than any interview, piece of content, podcast, anything. Because I would watch once those movies came out and I was solidified as a Star Wars fan, once you could buy the box set, 96, 97, whatever it was, I was watching those movies going to bed every single night. Now, half the time I would fall asleep, like, 2 minutes into the movie. So but I would never skip the interview.
Right.
And
You don't
I
want to
could
fast
not
forward it and ruin your tape.
that part of the third interview where he starts talking about where he's going to start writing Phantom Menace, and he writes episode 1 longhand with the pencil, and there was just so much hope about it. I can't believe they're doing more Star Wars. Like, what a time!
It was wild.
Yeah.
And I wasn't collecting toys at the time, but Mike, like, this is right around the time they're really ramping up, Power of the Force, and there's a lot of products hitting the stores. So are you like out searching, Mike? Like, are you diving in right at the beginning there?
Yeah, pretty much. So being older than you guys, what did you say about 1984, Craig?
I was born in 84. I know. I'm sorry. No, it was great.
We have a rule though: never trust anyone born after Jedi. But for you, we'll make an exception.
Is that a rule?
Yeah.
I met my wife in 1984 when we were 16. So
there you go. That's awesome.
So, but anyway, yeah. So, like, my story started a little bit sooner, and what it was for me, it's so funny. So I have my younger brother's 3 years younger than me, so the interests are pretty much identical, and we had gone to Toronto with our family to go see Phantom of the Opera, and he had hit a bookstore one of the evenings and came back, and it was the From Star Wars to Screen to Collectible book, and which is Steve Sansweet, and just flipping through that in a hotel room going, oh my God, all of this stuff. And that kind of led to me going, remember that big garage sale that our parents had and we lost everything? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, they sold all our Star Wars stuff. And he's like, no, they didn't. I have the figures still. So he had kept all the Kenner stuff. And like I said, I'm a little bit older. He was still playing with toys all through Empire. So we had almost everything up until Empire, and seeing those again. And then the movies coming out on VHS, and it's funny because you talk about watching it going to bed every night. I worked in a stereo store and I was the video guy. So we dubbed my copies of Star Wars, and that's what played in the store all the time.
Awesome.
So same thing.
Awesome.
And, but no, I do remember when that stuff came out, maybe maybe back then that were rarer things were a little tougher to find for us, but living across the border from Detroit, Michigan, we just did the cross-border shopping thing a lot of the time. And yeah, like I've never been a completist, but I know for Power of the Force that it was so easy just to, I'll go to Sears today and then I'll hit it in 3 weeks and grab something else. And
dude, Sears was like a gold mine.
Yeah.
And people didn't even realize it, Like
yeah.
It's just.
Well, I mean, Ryan, you worked at Sears, right?
I worked. That's one of the reasons why I worked at Sears, was to work at the toy department, right? And I was getting Power of the Force and stuff, but we were like, because, dude, I don't know about you, Mike, and I don't know about you, Craig, about like, because it was Power of the Force that had me like really not just like going and looking and then collecting like I was with X-Men. This was more like, I guess I was hunting for Nightcrawler. But I didn't really realize I was hunting for him. I guess we all kind of hunted for toys, even as kids. We always had characters we liked.
And when you go to the store, like, you're either looking for something that you don't have or hoping to find something that you didn't know was out or existed.
Right. So, but I found with Power of the Force, that's when it was like, I have to go and look for now I'm going to go multiple places and check for a particular figure. And we all know back then what that figure was, right? Because she wasn't on the card backs.
Okay.
For back then. So everyone knew that there was a Leia, but nobody knew what she looked like for obvious reasons, right? They didn't want to put her on the back. I guess I don't think that's the actual reason, but for whatever reason, they were like, well, where's Leia? She's not on the back. She was one per case at that time. That first,
so they made her like they short packed Leia because they thought that would be a sought after figure.
Correct. For the first couple waves too, like even the Shadows of the Empire, like Leia's Bosch,
right?
Bosch, that
she
was short packed too.
Yeah. I think the whole thing with Power of the Force is like, we are nowadays the primary discussion between modern Star Wars collectors, because right, like Star Wars collectors kind of fit into like these different buckets. Like you have your vintage purists, like the dudes and ladies and the people who are like, 77 to 85, and I'm out. If it's a vintage Kenner figure, that is my, that's my bread and butter. That's what I consider Star Wars collecting. And then you have 90s collectors, and then you have the people who got really into it and are very nostalgic for that time around, the prequels and all of that. And then you have your modern collectors who are more into the super articulated legacy scale figures. And of course, you've got your 6-inch Black Series collectors. So everybody kind of fits into these different buckets. I wish I could just fit into one and stick with it, but like my brain is like always so. Like Mike, as you've gone as a collector, like, what would you say your primary focus is for Star Wars collecting? Kind of based on that logic I was just throwing out there, that there's specific types of collectors, or am I wrong? Either way, tell me.
I think there's 100 different types of collectors, and it's funny, like with modern collectors, which there's a big sort of super articulation demand from the vintage collection, obviously,
right.
And they're re-releasing such and such, but it's got it's got the ankles, and it's got improved things, and it won't be the best until it has this,
right.
And I've always been, it's because it's, if in the 90s I didn't know what we were going to get over 20 years later, how they were going to look. So
right.
For me, I buy as I go. If it fits if a figure fits what I'm into or what I'm doing, then I get it. Otherwise, I miss on it. There's a giant pile of figures from Power of the Jedi through to, I don't even know, like the original vintage collection, where I just went, well, I got a Luke, I don't need another one, But what's changed for me is how I interact with them. Like my collection I have now in this room, I started collecting in like the mid 90s.
Okay.
This room didn't exist until 6, 7, 8 years later, maybe 6 years later.
You've got a great, actually, let's take a look at if I want to get a little bit closer on the setup here. We'll make you the main guy here. Yeah. I mean, that it looks like you got a great setup.
So thanks. I really, what I found, the more interaction I had with my figures, the more I wanted to do with them. So
right.
That meant, like, at some point you stop buying, like, I don't need any more Jedi Knights, but yes, give me all the Rebel pilots. I'm trying to put my finger in the picture here. That's my Rebel base under my arm there.
Okay.
So it's like a 3-level thing. I've got all kinds of ships and all kinds of figures, and it just sort of, what I collect ebbs and flows.
Sure.
And since the Disney acquisition, buying more than I ever had.
Interesting.
And it's always been based on, do I love it or don't I love it?
Right.
And like Power of the Force is like, I mean, above my computer here, I have sort of a dedicated 90s little bit of everything.
Okay.
But I never took a Power of the Force figure off the shelf unless there was a solid replacement for it. So a lot of those aliens that we're never going to see ever again, they're still in my cantina because it's that version of the figure. And, at one time they were good enough. So,
yep. I'm in that same boat right now too with the cantina.
It's interesting you say that, because people are people are always saying, like, when are you going to make, like, if you're a diehard vintage collector and you want the hyper articulated figures and you're dying for those cantina aliens, like, they are out there. There's pretty good versions of most of those characters that you want. So it's almost not worth it to get so upset and stressed, because we all know what modern toy collecting is. We know about the prices. We know about the pre-orders. We know how, not that I'm trying to defend the toy companies, but it is very expensive for them to make these figures. And flat out, there's not as many people buying these things as there used to be.
Yeah. And they're way more expensive to buy.
They're way more expensive to buy. They're not for kids anymore at all.
No. And I think a really good example of how, like, sometimes it's good enough and also how it's too expensive is they've put out that awesome Cantina band set, the multi-pack.
Yeah.
Right. You get the entire band.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered it. I canceled it. I pre-ordered it. I canceled it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, it's what you've apparently have been always wanted with super articulated Ferg Dan and the modal nodes.
Yes.
But they sit at the back of my Cantina shelf, and they're all like, I take them down when I'm moving something around, and they go back up, you know.
Right.
So I bought one. I bought the carded one, so he can be out in front of the band, like, you know, kicking ass kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the
mine
day,
just showed up too.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So instead of, and I'm going to try to keep. So just as a reminder, if you're joining us late, I'm also Canadian. And everything's a lot more expensive, but I don't want to make it about just being Canadian. But, you know, sticker price on that is $90.
Right.
For me, I'll say this once, as a Canadian, add US exchange and $30 international shipping.
Right.
And it's stupid expensive. But so that means I canceled it again. But like I said, I made my peace with it in that, yes, they're fantastic. And yes, you wish you could have them. But at the end of the day, you don't touch the Cantina band like you touch, you know, the Rebel base with all the pilots.
Right.
So
it's
I still ordered this because I don't have a Cantina band.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
But I also but I'm in the same boat as you, where it's like I've always wanted the complete band. They've only ever done 5, and even for a while there too, I started like believing in my head, like, wait, there is only 5 members because of just what they were only releasing. So when they released this, I remember like going to Jake Stevens and being like, there's 7 members, right? Like there's not just 5. He's like, yeah. And I was like,
yeah,
okay.
It's Hasbro propaganda has convinced us all there's only 5 members of the band. All these
years. Right? So it's to me, this is a very exciting purchase for me. And like you said too, like I find some of the Power of the Jedi figures and the Saga figures for the Cantina band, I think a lot of those toys still look great. They still hold up, even if they're like 25 years old at this point.
Well, because they're
Go ahead.
I mean, they're 3 3/4 inch figures. They're even
they're
the most
creatures,
right? Even the most detailed paint apps and faces, like there's only so much you can do to improve something that small. So that's why, like when I did my Black Series video, I ranted and wailed about world building opportunities, and you don't get that for obvious reasons in Black Series. But the amount, like just Mike sitting here talking about his Rebel base setup with all the Rebel pilots, I'm like, I'm in. I'm joining the rebellion tonight. I'm getting X-Wing. I'm ready to roll. Like I get really excited about this stuff.
Actually, Craig, this is going to lead me into a question I had for you tonight.
Okay. All right. So let's do it.
We all saw the video. Everyone here, I'm going to assume, has seen Craig's video. It's got like 10,000 views. Everyone's seen it. The world knows. Craig has quit. It's a really good video, Craig. It is very good. And I never give my friends props. I give them shit. I never give them props. But I have to give Craig props.
Tough audience.
It's a great video. And
by the way, I will say this. Abby, Jake, and Ryan are 3 people who are really hard to impress with anything. They soon rather walk by you and go, huh, you made a video, huh?
Well,
make another one. We'll see.
Good for you.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But Craig, you're done, and you're trying to you feel it seems like you're at a crossroads, because you're like you're at that crossroads. You are looking to world build, like you were saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you thought about where you want to start?
Have I thought about where I want to start? So it's interesting you say that. It's all I've been thinking about. It's consuming my brain. I had a decent little collection of, vintage collection figures. And one rule I do have is I have no problem mixing and matching, whether it's 90s Star Wars or Legacy collection or Trilogy collection or Vintage collection. They're all the same size. I love a lot of articulation on the figure, but I've got all my Shadows of the Empire figures displayed with everybody because, like, are they going to make more Shadows of the Empire figures? I bet eventually, at some point, we're going to get that Gaming Greats, Dash Rendar, but you're not going to get the other 5. So,
they did make comic 2-packs though. So there is like
updated cool with the comic books. Yeah,
they're so expensive though.
Yeah,
some of those are now going for like triple digits, and it's like It's crazy, but it's great though. I love that there's still interest in that stuff. But man, whew.
There's so many play sets and vehicles when it comes to, and I'm going to exclude talking about vintage Star Wars, because I kind of consider vintage to be it's its own thing, right?
Sure.
Like I've got some of those
too.
play sets, and they're expensive though. It's just its own thing. But as far as like the world building out dioramas, I've got some of the smaller modern. I've got the Jabba,
The wall.
the wall. I got the Jabba wall, and I've got the Navarro Cantina, and I've got the Bib Fortuna, play set on pre-order.
All the plates and dishes.
Put the plates and dishes play set. I've got the, I've got the barge, and I've got the Razor Crest. So I've got some good world building pieces, an ATST and an X-Wing and stuff like that. But for me, the exciting thing is going back to things like this, like the Death Star escape, or some of these kind of like pretty affordable 90s Power of the Force play sets that make really good, starting points for building out a cool collection.
And if you're into photography, those are great little mini setups.
Sure.
Yeah, I've seen people just do crazy stuff with them.
And Peak Obi-Wan, let's be clear. The best Star Wars is the Heritage Scale, 3.75 hands down. No, you're not going to get arguments from anybody. Call it Heritage Scale, call it Legacy Scale, call it the whatever
the actual scale.
This is the only scale that matters. So there's a lot of stuff like this that I see out and about that I'm a playset person in general. Like I love playsets. To me, action figures go in vehicles which are parked at your playset. Like it's the hierarchy of a toy collector. But for me, I've got the what is it? The Blue Milk, is that what it's called? The Vintage Collection hardback that they put out.
Yeah, the new book, yeah.
The book. And, I haven't dug into it super deep yet, but like to me, there's a really exciting opportunity of looking back at the last 10 or 15 years of Star Wars product in the Legacy scale and just picking out the stuff that unfortunately they're not making. Like they're going to do one playset this year. They're going to do the Rebel base, the Endor base, whether that is a small kind of thing like the old Power of the Force stuff, or if it does turn out to be like part of a HasLab, like a bigger Ewok village or something like that, remains to be seen. But to me, it's about going back 10 or 15 years and seeing what was coming out then. I know a lot of that stuff is, getting up that mid 2000s. It's not like the mid 90s. Some of that stuff is very expensive.
Well, you go back and think about even something like the Battle Pack line, right, where they had 3 or 4 figures in a set where you would just boom, instant, in my case, instant pilots. But you had the Evolution sets where they threw in a Darth Vader and a couple other Sith Lords and things like that. And it was all in the box, and it was all like instant. There was a lot more of that where you could cherry pick, you could decide if you wanted or didn't want it. There was always something else. The majority of my collecting came probably Clone Wars into the original vintage collection. That's where I kind of really ramp things up. But it was always about what can I do with this? Like, can I, how am I going to interact with it, or what am I going to, how am I going to put it up on the shelf? And yeah, I think that was like, we're kind of lamenting back the way it was kind of thing.
Right.
And,
which is that's part of being a collector, is looking
for
backwards and going, man, we had it good. And,
I didn't appreciate it. Now I got to go back.
Right. Yeah.
Well, something like this Ultimate Battle Pack, I just pulled it up on Amazon. It's $500 on Amazon. I don't know what this goes for on eBay.
Amazon prices aren't real.
Right. Wow. But what was does anybody know what MSRP was on this when it came out? It wasn't $500.
That might have been $50-$60. I want to say it's too many vehicles.
But if this came out today, it'd probably be $150 to $200.
Yeah. I can find out.
But people would also be very excited about it.
My Toy Box app is also a website now as well.
Oh, perfect. That's a great app.
Well, you figure if an X-Wing fighter right now is $120 to $150,
Right.
Then a 2-pack like
Right.
that, would be $1 million. But
Exactly.
it's funny because we talked about how Hasbro has convinced us there aren't 7 people in the Cantina band.
Right.
But they've also like the one thing that's really bugged me, and I know we're not going to be negative, but I've been waiting a year maybe to say this, is
Bring it on.
well, like the Vintage Collection, they relaunched it. When the Vintage Collection was out before, it wasn't a premium line. It was just Star Wars figures.
Right.
So you had very good articulation, most of the time super articulation, not every single sort of bit of articulation, but for most people, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And they ran those, and then they started doing, I think the first line that went 5 POA was the Rebels line, the animated series, and it has the animated look. So, and then we lived through that confusing time where Black Series was 3-inch scale and it was 6-inch scale. And then they relaunched the Vintage Collection, and they're like, this is our premium line. This is something. And it's like, this is what you did 5 years ago, and you weren't charging whatever the premium is,
And do you know how confusing it is? Is it when you're just now, like, I remember that lead up to Force Awakens where I was trying to wrap my head around, I hadn't collected Star Wars in a long time. And I was like, okay, there's Black Series, but then there's the smaller Black Series, but these seem to be kind of like the old Vintage Collection. Some of them are the same figures.
Right.
It was very, I think they did some of that on purpose to maybe confuse people. I don't know.
Yeah. So the name Black Series stuck around. That's why they did it. But like, it's so then today they say, it's the figures are, well, Hasbro isn't telling us they're expensive, but now these figures are premium, and they have all this extra articulation and all that. But like I said before, it was just a Star Wars figure. It wasn't anything special. It's where they were at the time. So this last price increase, where I know in the US, you guys got just the sticker shock finally. And, you have to start questioning, like, I can't with a clear conscience keep doing this.
Right.
Yeah. And I was on it was, I think in the summer, I won't mention on whose Instagram live show it was, but I had asked in the chat, I'm like, like, are you guys not feeling like you're hitting the ceiling for how expensive this stuff is getting?
Right.
And the one answer I got back was, yeah, but this is the cheapest you'll find them. And it's like, no, that's how you talk about fine art and getting a mortgage. That's not what you talk about. Like,
right. Exactly.
And I
can't believe you're buying a house right now. Well,
yeah,
the interest rate is what it is. I have no control over it. Like, this is not,
what are you going to do? Not live in a house? You got to get a house.
Right.
And I just went, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy that loves articulation and all that, but I'm also the guy that I'm perfectly fine with the Power of the Force version of Mon Mothma, which is a salt shaker with arms that move. Right. That's fine,
what?
But they've told us, no, it's premium. You've never seen anything like this before. And it's like, okay, then I'm not going to buy that then.
Yeah, you're right. I've never seen a $24 3-inch action figure before. You got me there, buddies.
Yeah.
We talked about this. This was an off-air conversation we were having with Jacob Walsh the other day. And I'm just kind of highlighting various figures, over the years. This is a really cool figure, by the way.
I love that figure.
We were having this conversation about, like, toys. They can feel like toys. Not every toy has to be, not every action figure you have has to be. And this is kind of one of the issues with Black Series, is like they're selling them as a super hyper realistic collector action figure, but at the end of the day, like, it's a 6-inch action figure, and the face sculpts are hit or miss, and they used to be $18.99 and then $20 and then $20, and now it's like they're $35, and like, same thing. What is the ceiling? Yeah. Is in America or Canada, are we going to be paying $50 for a Black Series figure? And
I think we are in some cases up here.
Yeah, 40. I think $43.99 is the current.
But at some point,
it's close to 50.
Like, I can't speak for you guys, but I know it used to be around the time of Force Awakens is when I started getting into Black Series. You couldn't find them anywhere. I mean, I know there was a lot of hype for the movie, but like, they truly were harder to find.
Right.
I can go to Target or Walmart right now any of the last several waves. They're all peg warmers. Like Black Series is just going to win peg warmer of the year, and I don't think it's because of the quality of the figure. I don't think it's because there's two different scales. I think it's because of the price, and also a little bit, not to be negative, there's been some underwhelming Star Wars content that they've pushed. And you know what? There's also some really great Star Wars content. Bad Batch, really great.
I think there's
really
this
great.
Weird,
can't buy it. There's no Andor things to buy at the store. Right. I will say that right now.
But I think there's this weird, like, I think that's the, I don't know how to phrase this. There's this weird balance that it needs where it's like, if you're going to be having this adult collector items such as the Black Series, then maybe that's where you start to get your Andor shit together first. But if you're going to have a kid show like the Book of Boba Fett or the Bad Batch, that's when you start having like a
Rancor on day one.
Right, like that kind of stuff. Like, and have them maybe at that smaller scale, that 3.75, where parents feel okay getting them something that's a smaller, cheaper figure.
Right.
And I think that's what it just all kind of comes down to. But I think, but Craig, you're right. Like, even our Toys R Us here, like a year ago, you could not find Marvel Legends. You could not find Black Series. You could not find it. Like, but now our Toys R Us, our Walmarts, they're always full.
Yeah.
And it's because the price point's gotten so high, people are just like, nah, I'm done. Like, I'm out.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think I want to go to the chat and kind of get everybody's thoughts here on what you guys are thinking, where you guys are as collectors, what gets you excited about Star Wars. Because I think for me, one of the biggest issues is that we've moved into this headspace where everything now is a collector figure, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there are no G.I. Joes for kids. There are no Star Wars traditional action figures made for kids. There are the what are they called? The smaller, whatever that line is.
Oh, the
Galactic Heroes or whatever. And those are fun and those are cute and maybe kids like them, but besides Jake Stevens, I don't think that there's a whole lot of Star Wars collectors getting very excited. Like, you can't put those with anything that you've been collecting for the last 40 years. And I think that's part of the Mission Fleet. What do we call it? We called it something else. It's fine.
Galactic blob. Yeah.
Galactic snack packs. Galactic
snack packs. But I think that you've got a 40-year legacy of people collecting Star Wars action figures made by the same company. And
do you think that's why people are going to the Micro Galaxy Squadrons?
Are they?
Or I don't know. It's not just me. I see a lot of people posting.
The new stuff, the Jazzware stuff.
I'm not talking about. I'm the only one that's like thinking about going back to Micro Machines and getting the Transforming head. Trust me, I'm the only one, and I'm okay with that. But I think people
what were the vehicles? Yeah. It wasn't back in the day. Was it Action Fleet? Was that like the die-cast?
Yeah, that was the Action Fleet.
Okay, yeah, because I feel like whenever those lines come out, they do pretty well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
and I mean, I'm just out of a sense of trying to control a budget. I pick up those things, and I think because Star Wars ships are so cool, and then I put them back because I have responsibilities. But I feel like that's such a different way than the Mission Fleet, because it's appealing to like Kenner collectors collected die-cast in the 70s and the 80s, and in the 90s we had the Action Fleet.
Right.
And I think it sort of hits another. I could very easily start collecting those, but I won't. I can't.
Right. Yeah, I grabbed a couple. I grabbed the X-Wing and I grabbed the fire spray of Boba Fett's ship there. So I grabbed those two. But man, those are also a very slippery slope because the price is so good on those. Plus they look great and they come with little figures. And now they're doing those multi-packs. I don't know if anyone saw them. They're doing like a trench run battle where you get Luke's X-Wing and 3 TIE fighters. One of them was Darth Vader's, right? So they're doing like one. They're doing a Death Star Escape, which is the Millennium Falcon and 2 TIE fighters, and they're one big set and come with the figures. Plus, they're
And
just
it's great
pumping out.
because they're slightly bigger than what Hot Wheels did when they first started putting out Star Wars.
Right.
So they're just, yeah.
Yeah, there's like, to me, I feel like for ships to play with and to collect, I feel like they're like the perfect size almost. And
See, to me,
Right.
yeah,
no, and I agree with that. I'm such an action figure fan that having ships on display is really cool, and I like them and I appreciate them, but they don't fill that same need.
well, they don't
of
scratch that itch that you have, where it's like,
don't scratch the itch.
right?
Now, I think now there's a couple people in here. I want to acknowledge the chat. Like there's some people saying Disney damaged the brand. There's a couple other people saying, nothing.
On.
But I think, listen, we're not going to get into that discussion tonight. But I think it is as somebody who I enjoy a lot of the sequel trilogy, right? There's stuff I really love. The Force Awakens a lot, and there's stuff in the other two that I like a lot as well. There's stuff I don't like, whatever. Again, other shows I've talked about it a lot, too much. But it is my opinion that the two most interesting pieces of content to come out of this era are Andor, which just ended the first season because it was such a departure, so well written, well acted, really built out a lot of meaningful fear of the Empire, and really this birth of the rebellion feels very real world and very like something very tangible and relatable in a lot of ways, and I just thought it was really great. But there's not really a lot of product for Andor. There will be more, but I think the biggest missed opportunity that Hasbro has had as far as action figures, playsets, and vehicles is with The Mandalorian, because to me, The Mandalorian is the closest that anybody's come, including prequels or sequel trilogy or anything, to capturing that magic of the original trilogy. There's an ingredient in The Mandalorian, and I'm not saying it's better than Empire Strikes Back, although some people might say that. And you can make arguments that it's as good as some of the OT stuff, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think there is a magic. I'm trying to cover all bases here.
I know you are.
There's a magic ingredient in The Mandalorian that I think had the potential to unlock, they want kids in the stores, right? They knew that Grogu, Baby Yoda was going to be a thing. They're going to buy all the animatronic Yodas and Grogus and all that. But if they would have, after that first season, had some, they had like the ATST, and they had, some other stuff, but there was no like, in the Razor Crest was none of the creatures, no blurg, and no kids. You had vintage collection figures, fine, but there was no like. I just imagine what it would have been like to be a Mandalorian fan at 10 years old and walk into Target or Walmart or Toys R Us if you're in Canada and see like, whoa, it's this big whatever. I'm trying to think of some of the. I guess there is a Navarro Cantina, but it's not. It's not what I'm talking about.
And it's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, but you're right. Like if they just had like even just a re-release Sandcrawler with the new tents and stuff on the top.
Oh my God!
Right? Do you know what I mean? Just they could have done so much, like just to walk into there, and they didn't need to have like the Grogu stuff out right away.
Well, and it's a good example of how like they did drop the ball, because like you're right, Craig, about what you're saying about like how sort of universally well received it is. It's this isn't a word, but it's the funnest new Star Wars,
right?
And then it's what a lot of people said, it's the Boba Fett TV show that we always wanted, right? Or it's the Boba Fett movie we always wanted,
right.
And those two elements, like that's just that's candy for a kid,
right?
And T-visors, man, we love T-visors.
We do. But I think and I love, like somebody brought up the Razor Crest, right? Razor Crest, TVC, HasLab, incredible. Just an amazing, beautiful piece of art. But what if they would have put out and planned on, like $100, not as big, more mass market,
Well, they do it with Falcons all the time.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
Falcon
saying.
Or like the Clone War era right? Bigger. Yeah, they could have. Yeah.
Yep.
But I
They
think part of
easily
the
could have done.
problem is they got rid of, there is no middle ground line anymore.
Yeah.
There's Vintage Collection and Black Series, and there is no 5 POA. Like there is no cheaper way for them to, well, maybe there is, but they're not delivering a cheaper, more affordable, more kid friendly. Like I think about the parents go to the store with their kids. What if there was a $70 Millennium Falcon or a $50 Millennium Falcon compared to a $400 Millennium Falcon? Like,
Mhm.
I think kids probably still want a Millennium Falcon. I just think
Well,
that
think about going from the original Kenner to the Power of the Force version, where all they did was give it
right.
a much cooler paint app. Like they could, that's you're going to sell adults will buy that because it's what we knew as kids, right?
Right.
Mhm.
But it's funny you mentioned the Razor Crest. There's mine there over my shoulder.
It's awesome.
I'm terrified of it.
Oh,
Just-
I love mine.
Oh, like I get so stressed, like trying to take the panels off.
What I want, we waited 2 years for it or whatever, and I was going to bring it on my camping vacations, put it in a box, bring it to the beach, and my wife's like, it's not leaving the house. You're not doing that. And then I'm downstairs, and it's in the middle of the room on a glass table, and I tripped one day, and I turned around, and the only thing to stop me, and I'm like, oh my God. So I didn't hurt it, but I haven't touched it because, it's not the mid-price Falcon I can throw down the stairs. It's a freaking $600, collectible now. So it's terrifying. But
yeah, I just there's no, and like Mike, you've been involved hardcore collecting for a long time, and I know it's a big point of contention with Jake Stevens when they got rid of the 5 POA lines.
yeah.
And not putting out any 5 P. I mean, Last Jedi was not that long ago. Think of what the Target aisle looked like when Last Jedi came out. It was a ton of figures.
Yeah.
There was play sets. I mean, think about, when Force Awakens came, think about the BB-8, play set that became, Star Killer Base, like just fun toys. Now, this leads me to this is not negative, but this is a point of contention I have. Why can't Hasbro Star Wars? Hasbro is a publicly traded company. Why can't they be transparent? Like, why is everything like this shroud of, we can't tell you what we're working on, we can't give you a real like, why can't they, if the reason is, hey, our numbers showed that nobody was buying 5 POA anymore, like, why won't they just say it?
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be data that backs it up somewhere. Sorry, data, wrong,
Or
wrong
even,
franchise. Am I
or
right?
even instead of here's a super articulated vintage collection, instead of giving it a fake premium name that it didn't have the first time Vintage Collection came out, here's a new character and a new figure with, I don't even know how to do the numbers, with 12 points of articulation instead of 24 points of articulation.
Right, exactly.
Articulation as necessary. And that's that the 5 POA stuff. I complain the entire time, and I have every one of them because I'm glad I have them. It's the only way to get most of the Rogue One team still.
Sure. Well,
that
that's
kind of
right.
And yeah, Solo. So
I always forget about Solo.
So
okay.
Yep. Make Solo 2 happen. Let's do it, guys.
Yeah.
I saw was it Lawrence Kasdan or with Lawrence Kasdan? Which one's the kid? There's the older Kasdan.
John,
yeah.
Because he's doing Willow. And there was an interview with him today, and they were asking about the prospects of more Solo, and he was saying that he wanted to do like a Kira, like a one-off similar to Werewolf by Night, like a short,
right?
Which would be cool. But
I'll watch anything from that time. Yep. Talking about cool play sets from Solo, we got those 2 cardboard play sets.
Yeah.
And
what else did we get? We got some, and that one too had like, not just, it had multiple Falcon vehicles. I believe as well. There was one. Yeah, I believe there was 2 of them.
Of a lot, but I mean, you got a different Falcon. You got Lando's version of it. That mold.
Right.
But those cardboard play sets, I've got the Kessel one, and it's cool. I've got it on a little dollar store turntable. And it's awesome just to look at it. I'm surprised they didn't follow those up with what came after Solo, Rise of Skywalker, right?
Right.
But even
and there's precedence for that. Sorry, right?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, again, because I keep trying to tell myself too, like, don't talk about the stuff we didn't get because it's just there's no point in it. But like now think about Solo too, like, and I was thinking about this when Jake brought up the Crate Dragon. Like, to me, characters that come with bikes seem like a no-brainer for fun as a toy, right? Like if you do what is it? Emphys
Nest. There you go.
If you do her and all her gang, or if you even did Cobb Vanth with his half pod racer bike. We haven't gotten Mando.
Yeah, where's that? Oh man.
We haven't gotten Mando and his bike. But to me, it always seems like now when we're getting the speeder bikes that are coming back out again, I always kind of feel like, man, they're not doing
at a premium price point.
At a premium price point. But it always seems like a no-brainer to me as well to kind of just like, because to me, like characters that come with vehicles, I think Ezra Miller came with one. Ezra Miller. That's someone else.
Yeah. Ezra. You guys said you'd keep it on Star Wars. Come
Ezra
on.
Miller came with a restraining order. What are you talking about?
He did win an Oscar for that scene in The Flash or whatever.
Oh, right.
Ezra Bridger is who you're talking about.
That's Bridger. Right. Yes, Ezra
now,
Bridger.
Let's start.
Names are so
who do you guys
similar.
think's going to play Ezra Miller in the Ahsoka series?
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about
Johnny Depp
play set?
Oh, yeah.
What am I looking at here?
Oh wow!
Oh God,
dude!
Those were why are you doing this to me?
Those were a series of 2 packs or 3 packs. 3 packs,
okay.
I think.
And they each one came with a piece. It was like a build a play set.
Almost
so
like a slice of pizza. There you go. Yep.
So
show me.
They'll come with they'll come with 2 seats, but 3 figures.
Okay.
Okay. And then I don't know where the other piece is, but then also it also comes with a centerpiece.
Okay.
So it's like you're pretty much making like almost a pizza, but it's like weird, right? But right, so it's got the peg holes there, so your characters can stand. It's got, dude. I need all of this. I only have one, and I found one, and I got like talked into it. Someone twisted my rubber arm and said, "Dude, you need this," and I was like, "Oh, I do." And now I got to get the rest. So I'm stuck.
I mean, this is an amazing looking ordeal here. When did all this come out? Is this like?
Well, that's
oh, they came out. I think. Actually, these came out periodically.
Oh no, that's So that's Phantom Menace.
It's Phantom Menace, but there was like two parts of it came with were part of the Saga line. The other there's another 2 pieces that came as part of like the Jedi line.
Okay.
And then there was like another 2 pieces came with like the 30th anniversary line. So it's like you can get all of them, but they're going to be in like similar. They're all the same packaging, but with different branding on them.
Okay.
Right.
And then you can eventually get them all. But I got it because I want to make the thing and have Anakin sit there and pout.
Right. Well, that's what it's about. Like that is, it's iconic, right? The Jedi Council with all of those characters. Like that is a perfect example of something that, for reasons we quite don't understand, maybe it's just cost, that we will never see today in any kind of affordable way. I wanted to get to Mega J Retro. We love Mega J. Great YouTube content. Check it out. He says, "Where's Mando's Naboo cruiser ship? I think that would be very cool."
I ask that every day. I wake up in the morning. I go as soon as I get in the shower. You know how you start thinking about shit when you're in the shower?
Mostly toys.
And I sit there and go, man, what I would do for a Pelimoto that comes with a Naboo starfighter. Like, how cool. And it like comes apart so you could use your Pelimoto and her droids to put it back together. Like,
so I think
they'll have to go with Lego for that figure for now.
I think they'll make one. They'll for sure make one.
I think
now, I'm worried that they're going to make it a HasLab.
Or a Pulse exclusive, or just a HasLab?
I think a HasLab, and I think if you look at that new Transformers HasLab, I think HasLab is going to start. They're going to attempt at some point in Star Wars to do something at a $200 or less price point, but make it a HasLab. And I think if that's the only way you can get it, I think they'll do a great job on it, and I think it'll be amazing, and it'll probably come with some great, figures and things like that.
Pelimoto.
But
yep.
Again, 10 years ago, it would just be something you could find at Toys R Us
on the end cap. And I think that would be something that would sell. It's a virtually a brand new ship from everybody lost their minds when it came on screen. And you compare that to, as much as I love my X-Wings, you compare that to a repaint for General Merrick and a repaint for Rise of Skywalker. Like this is new, and it's already like, are they going to do VAC metal for it? Because we've seen they've brought that back. You don't know.
Oh, have they?
It'll be matte gray, like just
yeah, right. You got to paint it yourself. Yeah. It'll come with a can of spray paint.
I think it'll be a regular release. I think it'll be.
I hope
expensive,
it is,
but I think it'll be a regular release.
Mr.
Smart.
So you have the Razor Crest, Mike. Do you have the? Did you back the barge when it?
No, Razor Crest is my only HasLab, and probably will only ever be.
Okay, that's a great segue. Is there? What would be the item that would get you really excited to drop $300 or $400? No one's ever excited to drop $300 or $400, but is there like a dream play set or ship? Not to put you on the spot. We can go to Ryan first.
Probably a Death Star.
Like a Death Star, like a updated play set.
Yeah, the US version, not the Palatoy. That might do it, and just because of the memories, and honestly because of the footprint, it would be so easy to sort of get that up on a wall somewhere on a shelf. And that's just so classic. I think that would probably be it. Lots of talk about people want a canteen and that sort of thing. And I'm not sure how they could do a cantina properly with a HasLab.
Right.
Because do you want the space? Like, is it like maximum amount of tables? Do you want a really cool stage? Do you want a bar? Like, I think there's so much involved. You have to kind of, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with my Power of the Force cardboard one.
Right.
That I've slowly been, building my own sort of diorama around it. But I think the Death Star, it works, I think the Death Star would be, because even if you're not a diorama builder, if you just want a place to put a buttload of figures, that sort of 3-level, it's a shelf. It looks like a shelf,
right?
So I think that would be for multiple reasons.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love some sort of updated, Ewok Village, or say Ewok Village. To me, the Kenner Ewok Village is my favorite, maybe my favorite play set of all time. I love it. It's just it's fucking trees, man. It's awesome. Yeah. Just Ewoks on trees. That's awesome. Like
trees, elevators, and suspension bridges. What more do you want?
That's literally, give me that. There's that old quote, give me, what is it, liberty or give me death? I'm like, forget liberty and death. Give me an Ewok village. That's what I need. I think it would do really well. I think a Death Star would do better. I think a Death Star, there are still people out there who don't like Return of the Jedi or don't like Ewoks. I don't know them personally, but I'm sure I do. But I think a Death Star is again, it's what, like, anecdotally, this is what fans have been asking for.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
and you know what? And I don't really find a place in my life for the line, but you can even make it part of the retro collection.
Right. Well, that's interesting.
Play set,
See, I like the idea. I love the retro collection for a couple different reasons. One, I love vintage Kenner Star Wars. I love the idea of new figures in that style that never existed. That's why I love, I think the Tarkin. Do you not even have the Tarkin?
Oh, I have some of them.
Okay.
Because reasons. No, I've got the Tarkin open and I've got them carded. I mean, come on, you have to. And
I've got travesty that there's no original Tarkin.
Well, you had to have. That was the one they should have. I don't know. It's like, well, put your money into giving us, the main villain from Solo and things like that. Yeah. But no, I mean they served their purpose. I think my thing is I'm waiting for them to do the later figures from the Return of the Jedi, where I can just buy them in the store and call it a day for my Kenner collection.
Oh, if hey, there's an idea. Hey Kenner, hey Hasbro, those 18 figures that cost $600 a piece loose.
Yeah.
Can we get those with some coins, please?
For $12.99 each, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the retro stuff. And did I dream this? Did they announce a retro style X-Wing, or is that not a thing?
No.
That is not a thing.
Isn't that bad? Like, I just don't even know.
Jake Stevens was at Celebration Chicago, I want to say. And the Hasbro booth on like day one had sort of a coming soon with I can't remember now if it was a vintage X-Wing or not, but then it was gone. And by the time he went and did his Q&As with Hasbro, they were like, there is no X-Wing and there's only 5 members of the Cantina. And,
Yeah.
so
Something happened.
either it's there and they pulled it or I don't know what, but see, I'd buy one of those. I'd buy a vintage X-Wing because mine's all broken and beat up. I'd love a brand new one.
Yeah, I mean, I it's interesting. I had not thought about them re-releasing vintage, play sets.
Yeah.
And I have the Death Star Kenner playset, but something like that I think would maybe do pretty well if they could figure out how to do it.
I would love if they somehow released the old Dagobah with the foam.
Oh, it's great.
I would love that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Can I don't know if can I answer a couple questions in the chat?
Yeah, let's do
Sure.
it. Let's
Sorry, I had to laugh out loud. Cartman Bra said, Mike, please run for governor of your state. All the Star Wars fans would vote you in.
There you go. Let's
Well,
do
Will
it.
do, sir. And Slave to Leia, you're all about 375, but don't do retro. Very cherry pick about it. If I can take an accessory off of it and put it on my original Kenner, I'll do that. It's I got only so much money to spend, and world building for me is the modern figure. So that's all. I just wanted to.
So you're saying that we have to live on a budget, and when they re-release the Slave One for the 15th time for $250, like, I think that's kind of a running thing at Hasbro. They're like, how much can we charge for this thing and keep re-releasing it?
People are buying these. Why?
Jake Stevens is the problem. I shouldn't pick on him because he's not here, but he is part of the issue here.
Yeah.
I think at that point, though, not Jake, because Jake is honorable, but I think a lot of people look at it and go, I need the figure for whatever reason, and I'll get rid of the Slave One online or something like that. But
yeah, that's why I grabbed the Slave One from Empire Strikes Back before that one was released, because there was a big almost over a $50 difference for the same ship.
Right.
And I was like, oh, do I need mine to be dirty? No, I just need a cool looking ship.
Just a decent, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you think they'd ever make the Slave One a HasLab?
Ooh.
Because I would love to see that sort of internal gyroscope thing that we saw in Mando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be harder because they have, starting with the Kenner, and then, Power of the Force, and then they repainted that a couple times. They've just put it out so many times. I think it might be a harder sell for people.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, there'll be another one next year, right? So,
they're gonna keep. It's gonna keep happening.
Yeah.
But I love these retro figures. I think this Boba Fett's one of my favorite figures I've gotten in the last couple of years.
Yep.
And I think it's the price point. They're $12 or $13. Like, you can't argue with that in these modern hard dark times, baby.
Dark times, baby. Where's my Fennec Shand retro? Hasbro, can you make me one? I know Patrick's watching, so looks like Craig. You okay over there?
Yeah, a little light went off.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure you weren't frozen or gone.
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay, making
It's
sure.
fixed. We're fixed. Am I good?
Yep. Yeah, you look good.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I'm back.
Yep, you look good.
Back.
But I do like,
Thank you.
I love those figures. That's kind of what I want from a lot of what I want legacy sequel waves. That's what I want. I think that's what it comes down to. I want toys that look the same as they did. If they're going to do a retro collection, whether doesn't matter what franchise it is, just give me new toys that look old.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you imagine if they never updated the look of the original Kenner figures.
Right.
We wouldn't even be here right now. We'd all be going, "Oh, good, I got them. This is great."
Yeah,
I'm done.
Vinyl cape.
I've collected them all. I've collected them all. Let's go back to the chat. Davey says, "I thought we were done with Star Wars." No.
No.
Craig went to the dark side.
Yeah.
Darth Wizard says, "We need a 10-year gap on Slave One production cycle." Yeah, I think there needs to be a generation of collectors who never got their chance to get one. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
Disney licensing fees cut on Hasbro, jacking the price for sure. Slave 2 layout would love to see retro style Mon Mothma and Ula in the Return of the Jedi line.
Retro Mon Mothma, yes,
that would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool. That would be good.
If they did Tarkin, they can do. They need to. Yes, 100%. Yes, do Mon
and
Mothma.
Give me Biggs. Give me retro Biggs. Give me retro. Not bit. There's Biggs and
Wedge.
Orkins. Thank you. Yep. Give me all those guys in retro too.
As we talk about, so we kind of like, as far we started talking about where are we going to go with our collections, what is getting us excited about moving backwards. And listen, I am going to go pretty hard on 90s at some point.
That's
I want that is really cool. I want to dive into a lot of the stuff. Look about there's a ton of Phantom Menace stuff behind me. Oh, Mike, I meant to ask you that earlier.
Yes, sir.
Because I think your perspective is unique and different than ours, and that's why you're here. So you said you were a teenager when Empire came out. So take me back to 1999. You're a lifetime diehard Star Wars fan. Just from the perspective of the build up to Phantom Menace and the collecting of Phantom Menace, we love going back and watching those Midnight Madness videos.
Right.
Are those fond memories for you, or was that a nightmarish time as a collector?
Oh, no. Couldn't wait. I love the prequels.
Yeah.
I love everything about them. Stop shaking
my
head.
No, that's great. We do too. We do too.
It was like that first trailer, that first shot of the Gungans coming through the mist, not knowing those were Gungans coming through the mist. Like I was 1999. So father of two. Yeah, my son was born on George Lucas's birthday, by the way.
Nice.
So he was a year old when Phantom Menace came out. But anyway, so going to see that, like it's funny with Star Wars, I don't know how to say it. It's not lowered expectations, but it's like I expect to go in there and see some cringy stuff.
Yeah, you have set expectations.
Yeah, but not in a bad way.
Right.
No.
It's like, it's like, oh, look, Jedi Knights, this is awesome. And then it's like, oh, this is before. Like I got it. I got what he was doing with the prequels.
Right.
And the build up to it, waiting for the figures to come out. I bought the Stap, the battle droid Stap in that plastic box.
Mace Windu. Dude, that Mace Windu. I don't remember. I got my hands on it, and I remember being like, well, Mom, Dad, don't worry about having to pay for college because we got you.
Yeah.
It's done. It's on lock.
Right.
This is the dude from Pulp Fiction. He's in Star Wars now. Deal with
I think one of those Stap like those, I don't know what they're called. Whatever you want to say them. Those Stap speeders with the droids. I still think that's one of the best Star Wars toys they've ever made, because the stand helps makes the droid move around. Everything just looks really
well. And the handlebars, and you get the droid on it, he can lean back, bend back on his knees. It's really so cool. But I was all over the prequel stuff for sure. And like I mentioned, having two kids, my son's first Star Wars movie in the theater was Revenge of the Sith. So it's just,
did they are they big Star Wars fans still?
Yeah, they both so my son when they were kids, my son more than my daughter.
Okay.
My son stepped away from it, and he did what I did. He grew up and got into other things.
Right.
And which was awesome for me, because about 10% of my collection was his. So I've got it all down here in the Star Wars room. But oddly enough, The Force Awakens brought him back.
Right.
And it's awesome. He's now an adult Star Wars fan, which is really cool to see. And my daughter, absolutely. We all love it. My wife, it's funny. We have the kids love the prequels. My son loves Ewan McGregor. My daughter loves Hayden Christensen.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm probably OT if you had to ask me, including Rogue One and Solo. And my wife loves the sequel movies. Absolutely loves them.
Oh,
she's like, I don't know what your problem is.
cool.
And I'm like, well, come on the podcast and we'll talk about it. No, but
Right.
And it's a lot of fun. And like I know we're gonna probably get into it, but it's like with all the complaining about prices and all the crap we complain about with Hasbro and Star Wars figures, I don't want to stop. Like me changing what I buy is it's what hurts so much is I don't want to stop doing it.
Right.
You know, so I'm going to find a way, and if we'll get into it, I guess I'm going to find a way to be able to keep doing what I love, which is spending time in my Star Wars room and playing around, you know.
Yeah, I mean the it's cathartic for me to be in the toy room and to organize and reorganize and mentally prepare for my next collection and what I'm going to sell and what I'm going to keep. A big part of that, especially in Star Wars and in all these brands that we love, is the media. And I think the hole in my heart right now is no Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm.
I love the shows. I love them. I love them all. Ups and downs like anything else, but I love them. I want to I want a Force Friday. I want the build up to a new Star Wars movie. I put a thing on Twitter last week. You know, what was the biggest movie going experience of your lifetime? I've had 2 or 3 that I would consider like my just from the crowd, the anticipation, the hype. Two of my top 3 are Star Wars, right? Ghostbusters Afterlife was huge for a million reasons, but Phantom Menace in 1999 and Force Awakens specifically because, you know, I was in 9th grade and I remember I was as excited. It was the first time I drove in a car with another teenager. So that was as big as seeing a new Star Wars movie at midnight or whatever it was. Shout out to Chris Friedman, who I don't think I've talked to since that day. If you're out there, thanks for the ride. Thanks for the ride.
Thanks for the memories.
Thanks for the memories. But Force Awakens, the build up, the first trailer, then that second trailer, then that third trailer, and sitting in that audience and you kind of thought you knew what it was going to be, but you didn't know, but you knew that you'd been to the store and you saw the figures and you got to know what Zuvio's all about because he's out, you know, like, which turned into like a classic Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
I want movies.
Yeah.
And I think movies will be a big, I don't know. It'll be a big thing for Hasbro to continue what they're doing, but I feel like with a TV show, it's just such a different type of rollout as far as the media and the toys.
I do agree with that. I think that the next time they do a trilogy, I don't want them to do what they did last time where it was like pump something out every year. There was something really special about getting that movie and then having to wait.
Yeah,
because then sitting on it, you get to digest it, and because they know another movie's coming. This is where they got to do the world building because they were like, well, we've already made that character, so now we're going to start doing these aliens. We're going to start doing droids. We're going to start doing, you know, extra villains, that kind of stuff. So when you get that gap, and on top of that too, you get to digest the soundtrack, just everything. You get to soak it really all in for like 2 years.
Yeah,
right.
So then it builds up that anticipation for the next one.
Right. But also you got to remember a lot changed in the culture between Force Awakens was 2015. Last Jedi was 2017. A lot changed in world and in, you know, the political nature of the United States, North America changed a lot. The way people consume media was changing a lot. There's all these new streaming services. It almost felt like going into Force Awakens, people like the public was just less cynical in 2015 than they were by the time The Last Jedi rolled out.
Right.
That's why we need a new movie that's spaced out every 3 years.
Well, I think no matter what, it's the catalyst, right? It brings everybody together again.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
I know we turned until Solo came out, in the spring, we turned every one of those movies into a Christmas Day evening. We went to the show. Yeah. Told the in-laws, told the family, do what we got to do because 6:30 we're out the door. And sitting in a movie theater watching Star Wars on Christmas Day. You can't beat that. And we did that 4 times in a row. You know?
Right.
It's
Oh,
just
we saw Force
amazing.
Awakens. The third time we saw Force Awakens, we did like a 10:30 showing on New Year's Eve, and like it was amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know if I don't
Yeah.
I don't think Starkiller Base exploded right at midnight or anything like that. But what a special movie going experience. And like, to me, I'm always gonna like the toys. I'm
Mhm.
always gonna be hyped about the toys.
Me
But
too.
coming out of Force Awakens, I was like, get me to Walmart right now. I want it all. I don't care. I Kylo Ren, no matter what you think of those movies, like, it was new Star Wars, the new Star Wars characters, and like the limitless potential of what it could be. And for some people it lived up to it, whatever.
Yeah.
But that moment, and I think that's why I want more trilogies. I don't want Star Wars to replicate the Marvel model, because that works for Marvel. But like, to me, Star Wars, the essence of Star Wars is episodic storytelling. And that's why I think the Disney Plus shows work for Star Wars in a lot of ways better than the Marvel shows.
Yeah.
Plus, I
So-
also like I love Star Wars building up to Christmas. So I think that was the best thing that Disney
Yeah.
ever did.
Yeah.
Because then when you get the new like Christmas toys, Star Wars, it meshes together so well.
Yeah. My
And like you
birthday's in
said, like,
December.
Yeah.
So somebody bought this for me.
What do you got?
Oh, let's not show you my home address.
Oh,
There we go.
there you go.
Oh, nice. You got
So-
the hallway too. I
You got
love
the hallway.
Got it on sale. Now, this is my 4th one. I have
Okay.
4 of these come
4
next
hallways.
Friday when I actually get handed to me.
I love it.
So, but yeah, like December is like, okay, this is what I want to do. If I can combine birthday and Christmas from my mom, and then, okay, my mother-in-law can do this, and you end up with X-Wings, and you end up with all the figures. I'll put it in a bag and hand it to you. And you can give it to me on, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars
I
in
think that's
December. I did not, it's got to come out in May. It's like, no,
Mhm.
Christmas, man.
Christmas. I'm
It's
with
a
you.
big
did.
present. Yeah.
Trying to think. Force Awakens. Okay, Rogue One came out Christmas time ish, 2016.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Following.
But then
yeah.
Solo came out in May. Okay, something like that.
But it
Right
was
after Last Jedi.
yeah.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Last Jedi. Then. Gotcha.
But it was
And
even
then-
like
and
I
then-
just the hype for these things is so much fun though. You're right, for the movies. Because like even though they announced what was it? Your first episode of Mandalorian season 3 is going to drop March 1st.
Right.
Yep.
It's exciting to hear that, but without a trailer, it's hard to get super excited. And then at the same time, it's like there was like Craig, we were in Chicago when they dropped that Last Jedi trailer in Chicago.
Orlando.
The whole building is crying and just excited.
Right.
Right? It's great. It's great to, even though, you know what, whatever you thought of Last Jedi and the sequels and whatever, the hype leading up to all of these, even the prequels, the hype.
It's like
leading
a
up to
clean
all of it-
slate every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it's just everyone again is just back on the same page. You're right. It's a clean slate. That's the best way to
Yeah.
put it. You get excited again and you just start buying stuff because you're just excited to consume. So it's
Right.
yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, and I
Man.
think I'm so close to going on to a one of my sequel trilogy rants where I don't even know what my opinion is. I just know I like yelling about it. But for instance, this Rey with her speeder, I still have this on display. It was cheap. It was awesome. You get $20-$25. You get the new main character with her speeder.
Mhm.
It's
And-
awesome.
And the
Which
figure
looked
sits on the bike just like in the movie.
No,
No.
not quite. Not quite. But it stands next to it perfectly.
But it's
Yeah.
a beautiful looking. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
That's why I couldn't figure out with that with the Rise of Skywalker Vintage Collection Rey. I was like, why is this going for $100? What is
Yeah.
happening? Like, people need a Rey.
I have nothing but fun with the sequel movies. I'm over all the other stuff. It's Star Wars. It's the sequel movies and Book of Boba Fett. Same thing. A lot of fun, and just it's like Michael York and Austin Powers. Just look at the camera and go, and don't you worry about it either. It's just
right.
just go for the ride. It's all right.
Sure.
You know.
And I think
Yep.
that's the healthy approach. I'm gonna try to do that at some point.
Yeah, I just tried to focus on the parts that I enjoyed.
Right.
and just accept the stuff that I didn't. It makes you're right. It just makes things a lot easier. I said this before in a few episodes back on Toy Anxiety, where I refound my zen for like just Star Wars and Star Wars collecting and my whole refocus. Which I guess this could work as a good segue for what's coming up and what we plan for in the new year. Okay. So with the 40th anniversary of Star Wars, I know that like Craig and I were already like, they're making a HasLab Ewok village. We're getting it. We were being dumb on the phone. So which then led me to be like, well, then I need these. So I went and I got all the Endor.
Oh, nice.
No, but those are awesome.
These are so awesome. God, I love these so much. And I'm so happy I bought them. And it has me just like I know I'm trying not to like dip my hand in too many pickle jars right now. Like I want to keep my focus. I don't know if is that a term. Anyways, hold
on. I want to explore that real quick. Is that a Canadian?
No, I just said shit. I didn't know what to say, and I just said pickle jars.
Somehow Palpatine's back.
But somehow
you know how the Sith are. They're always experimenting with dark magic and putting their hands in too many
that's where
jars.
Snoke's come from. They're all in pickle jars. But I try to like keep my focus on like trying to finish my Cantina set.
Yeah.
Right. But now it's getting to that point where some of the figures, I think I was telling this to Craig, and it was like some of them are now at this point of like $70.
Yeah.
Right. They've only ever made them once. They weren't really easy to find to begin with. So now I'm kind of like that point of my Cantina. So now it's like, well, if I see them, I'll grab them. And now I'm also like collecting Senators. So as I find Senators, I buy them. And now it's like, well, now I've got these, and now I just got to find Ewoks as I find them.
Right.
And some of those Ewoks too are going for like 70. 80.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go buy those Kmart vintage collection Ewok sets.
Oh my God, they're like what, 150 now?
See, my problem is like, I'm gonna collect 90s Star Wars. Cool, what are you gonna start with? I was like, I want the Star Tours figures in Power of the Force.
Yeah,
the most expensive ones possible.
So, but not all of them. Like, not all of those are expensive. There are, I think, the sets are expensive.
Right.
But you can get like the single pack droids and whatever, and they're still like you can still grab those for like $15.
Yeah.
So
at least as much as what a new figure costs anyway. So sure.
I would love to get the Star Speeder 1000 though.
So that's totally Rad Dad says after The Last Jedi came home and watched Return of the Jedi about 20 times trying to forget the Luke Skywalker that was shown. You know what's weird? And I don't want to get into this discussion. I've got major issues with The Last Jedi, and the Luke in that story has I've never had an issue with it. No, I don't care. Like, yeah. Look at most Jedi. Like, I get it. But they're so emo. Like, they don't know what they're doing half the time. Like, sorry. God, this guy's gonna get so mad. Thank you for being here, totally right now. I'm sorry. We don't have to go down that road. But listen, when Luke showed up in Mandalorian, it was great. And I want to get to Jake's thing earlier. He said I don't know where it is. Oh yeah, all the best Star Wars is made by Bryce Dallas Howard. My biggest complaint with
best voice acting too.
Oh, she's great. Oh, that.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
dude, that Yaddle. The Yaddle episode of Tales for the Jedi.
Did I cry? Maybe.
Oh, I cried.
Yeah, I didn't know Yaddle was so hot. I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I did. Who am I kidding? Everyone knows
talking about that forever. No, but I think the glaring issue was that there's so many stories to be told between the last trilogy and this trilogy that getting a flashback of what happened between Luke and Kylo Ren, I don't think that didn't do everything it was supposed to do. I was like, to me, that's a whole trilogy of movies that building out the new Jedi Academy and Han and Leia's son turn like that. That's a
lot of the storytelling felt like those huge plot holes in the OT that we don't talk about. Right. And but it worked. Like and something even simple. I mean, this isn't a plot hole, but I was in the clone, or your father was in the clone, or you fought in the Clone Wars, and then that's it, right?
Right.
And it worked because we went nuts for 20 years trying to figure out what that meant. And I feel like in the sequels they tried to use that same method, but in the OT it was like accidental, but it worked.
Right.
Because you just bought it. Well, I've never heard.
Yeah.
What do you think the Clone Wars were? I don't know. It sounds insane though.
Right. But even when they first showed Boba Fett, like the first time in Bantha Tracks, they're just like, these were the super commandos from the Clone Wars. That's what they wore. Right. So you had things like Bantha Tracks from the Star Wars fan club trying to help you fill in these gaps of not only filling in these gaps from the past, but also like showcasing what's going to happen, like what's coming up in the new movie. And I think that's super fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like you were talking about the gap between movies where you had 3 years to soak it all up.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
Mhm.
Right. I think it's like anything else. There's good and bad, and there are people who The Last Jedi is their favorite Star Wars movie, and they're not wrong. It's all personal opinion, right?
Yep.
There's people like there's been a resurgence of prequel love the last 5 to 10 years, but there's still hardcore Star Wars OT fans who want nothing to do with the prequels. They don't watch Clone Wars. They don't care about Mandalorian. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
None of it has to do with $45 speeder bikes, but
yeah.
I bought two.
Did you really?
I did.
What? Okay, good for you.
Thanks, buddy.
that's
what I need right now is support.
I paid less than that on Boxing Day in Michigan for the Black Series version than this thing.
God.
Hey,
Put it
listen.
that way.
Ryan, you need this. That's what we say around here.
Here's the problem. So they did this would have been about 10 years ago. They did a Toys R Us exclusive speeder bike.
Yes.
So this
right. Yeah.
So this would have been for like the 30th anniversary of Jedi. And they had the speeder bike. I bought 2 of those as well, and I thought those were expensive back then.
Yeah.
Right.
And had the cool plastic stand coming out the back.
Yeah. So love it. I love those. I love that. I still have them. I still have them on display the whole bit. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, new ones? Because I don't know. I love speeder bikes. I love Scout Troopers.
You do love Scout Troopers.
I could
almost as much as Yaddle.
Almost, but not as much.
Imagine Yaddle
in a Scout Trooper helmet.
Yaddle in a Scout Trooper disguise.
Yeah,
hanging out in Pelimoto's closet.
Yeah,
you would be so sad.
Oh, just tap the nose of the pit droid.
Well, let me know how that molded sleeping bag is when you get them, Ryan. I'm really curious.
Yeah, okay.
removable sleeping bag. That's what it is.
There you go.
Oy vey.
Good stuff, guys. So yeah, as far as the future goes, I mean, we're still kind of, they're going to be rolling out, the 50th Lucasfilm anniversary was kind of it existed, but
it happened.
It happened, and they're gonna
some beautiful repaints out of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is. I did like the droids repaints though, from the droid cartoons. I liked those. I thought those were cool.
They were fun. Yeah,
there's some fun stuff. I think there's a lot of Star Wars content, right? We've got Mandalorian. They're gonna have season 2 of Andor. We're gonna have the Acolyte. We're gonna have all this stuff. Ahsoka. So I don't think we'll have a shortage of pre-orders.
Not in the future, no.
But
what are you hoping to see out of the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary? Like, are you really hoping for like the HasLab Ewok Village, or
I mean, I think most of it, like most of the anniversary programs they do are Black Series focused. And they've already done we already have a Return of the Jedi HasLab with the barge. So like, I would love to see, I think a Death Star is probably, that you can call it Return of the Jedi, but you have, it's the Death Star. It's in
throw the.
When was the last time we got it?
Yeah.
It was the last AT-AT we got for Rogue One, the big
but it
one.
wasn't like the. That was like that had a different name though. But you're right. The last time we had like the last time we had like a full walker on 4 legs was.
I mean, they could maybe do that if we haven't seen a regular AT-AT for a while.
Right. They haven't had a vintage collection AT-AT in like 10 years.
Yeah.
So
yep.
And they're $600-$700 now. So that would be cool. But again, do we realistically see that sitting on the shelf at Target and Walmart?
Well, I think that could be because it's been so long and the other ones are so expensive. I mean, HasLab could be the way to go
Yeah.
too.
A HasLab AT-AT. I mean, I think it would
But
do
then,
well.
then we got a big AT-AT.
right.
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 I
It's
think
kind of like
it's-
Slave
so-
One, right? We've seen
Yeah.
that.
They could
so.
re-release it again, though. Like, I mean,
Right.
you're right. They could do the same thing, the limited quantity, like they did with the Disney Park Falcon, because that was just the legacy.
Oh, the Galaxy's
Falcon.
Edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, we're getting that the Boba Fett throne,
The throne.
Yep.
non-HasLab. Maybe that's what they're gonna call.
I wonder how much that sold. Like, I wonder if they did well on that.
It's really nice. After seeing it in person at Celebration, I was actually pretty impressed by it.
Yeah.
It's really cool, and I it's big and expensive and taking years to get delivered, but it is gonna be cool. I don't know why these pictures aren't loading. But again, and maybe I think what they were doing with that was they were experimenting with the model of doing kind of a premium Pulse exclusive item that is not a HasLab.
Right.
But
I think that's what it is too. That's what it feels like.
And I'd like, anytime Jake Stevens does one of his Q&As with the team, I'd like to ask, like, hey, can you give us some data on how well this sold compared to other items? But
Right.
they're not going to say anything. So I don't know.
Glad you
I
asked
don't
that,
know.
Jake Stevens. It sold really well. We're really happy with the progress of the team and how good that playset looks. And
Right.
we look forward to seeing it in your collection.
There is no doubt that there is Disney Lucasfilm guidance on what, like,
Oh, yeah.
the Riva lightsaber. There's no way anybody on that team really thought that was going to be, like, I work a corporate job. Sometimes you just have to do stuff that you're like, I don't know if this is the greatest idea I've ever heard, but, like, what am I going to do?
I
Like,
work
they're
in
not-
film. I make movies like that.
Right. You do hold. Didn't you work on Aquaman?
No, I worked on Batman versus Superman sitting there going,
Right.
is this really a good idea?
Okay.
All right,
Check.
well,
All right,
let's
cool.
do it. Thank you for the paycheck.
Dude, you're like literally the birth of the Snyderverse.
Dude, I am the Snyderverse. I'm the reason it exists.
It's so funny.
I'm gonna have such envy over this playset though. That thing's just
Oh, dude, just
it's
get it.
enormous too, right? Like it's really big.
It's
Yeah,
really
it's
big, yeah.
I think when I saw that, it's like, well, I can't build a canteen around that unless I start tearing out bookcases, which isn't maybe a smart answer, but
Well, I mean,
what?
you got to
Just the
be.
detail, eh? Like,
Just
We
get
call
it.
we call it space danger. You have to, like. There's only so much room one has.
yeah,
That's how physics
and also,
work.
right, it's how physics. And also, there's the notion of like, are you going to rearrange your entire collection room to
Just
make
to-
room for it? You know,
yeah.
like
Yeah, is this going to be your new centerpiece? Because like that's kind of what the I got the Legacy Falcon recently as well. So like my big centerpieces for my Star Wars is my Razor Crest and my Falcon,
yeah, same. I've got mine one under the other. Yeah,
right?
I
They're
still-
Yeah.
they're so big and
Yeah.
they're beautiful toys.
still though. We got to talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
This is not really a playset.
Well, neither is the wall and neither is the hallway.
Right. I want trapdoors.
hang on. The wall, the carbon freeze goes up and down.
Okay, you're right.
So,
You're right.
come
It's a
on.
playset.
Oh,
It's a
the stairwell, the staircase playset. Sorry, we have the staircase playset. There's the hallway, and then there's Jabba's. We have two walls. One's a Navarro bar, and the other one is Jabba's palace. So that's how I refer to, like, they're not. But you're right. Craig's right. We want trapdoors. We want elevators. We want jail cells.
Yeah.
We want the goods.
Well, and they pitch that in all their videos and that. It's like, here's a place to stick all your Jabba's palace creatures.
right.
And it's like, well, no, I want to have the ones that were in the scene, and the rest of my shelf will have, and it's which
But
I think
it is-
ultimately, like I said, it'll look great if you've got one spot to put that on, it's gonna look fabulous.
Imagine if they would like release all the creatures that you could put in there.
Well, again, too, they've actually done most of those as well. You just have to go back and get them.
Yeah.
But not from the new one. They don't have like the droid that did the dishes or
Oh, you mean no? Well, they don't have the General Grievous droid.
the little guy, right?
Right. You need the little rabbit, and then but they got Evo 9. They got the other two you can get. The other two.
Wait, hold on. Let me ask serious questions because I'm a little bit newer to paying attention to TVC. Book of Boba Fett, right? Is there a Black Chrysanthemum vintage collection figure?
No.
Nope.
No. There's Fennec Shan.
Yes, she's beautiful.
Is there a Cobb Vanth?
Yes.
No.
Was it not in the not yet, but it's
Did they pipeline
it was in the pipeline didn't they?
Is there a and obviously they didn't make any of the other modded speeder bike guys.
No, I still have my dream play set in mind for that.
You're telling me that there's no, like, they haven't even thought about putting out that Rancor from that?
No Rancor.
That's what I'm saying.
The twins to me would be a prime example of something you could put as a Pulse exclusive.
Right.
Oh, the Jabba twins or the Hutt twins?
Yes,
the Hutt
Hutt
twins.
That's what I'm saying. Like they want you to buy this play set that's adjacent to all of the stuff that we're talking about, but there's no.
We are getting the artillery. No, that was Boba Fett. That was Mandalorian. I was gonna say the artillery trooper, the guy with the trooper with the yellow stripe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But that's not Book of Boba Fett.
So yeah, it's interesting, and like
I would love a Madame Garza's Sanctuary play set because that to me would be a lot of fun. But I'm weird.
Have they done?
Oh,
the cantina. Yeah.
With Max Rebo.
The name threw me off. Yeah.
Have they done a modern? When's the last time they did a Max Rebo band?
Oh gosh,
it's been a long time, right?
20 years it's been. But I have a feeling my in 20 years, I have this weird gut feeling that we're going to be getting a TVC Max Rebo band this year.
I hope so. I mean, if they're going to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi.
Now, here's my other thing. I also think it's going to be a 3-pack and an Amazon exclusive.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to clip art, clip that because I am calling it now. That's what it's going to be.
Okay. Yeah, let's get some more predictions before we wrap up here. I think that's a great prediction for next year. I think I am going to predict that when they reveal the Endor Rebel base, there's going to be the bunker.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of people who collectively go, that's it? Another wall?
Another wall? Yeah.
I hope not. I hope it's really cool, and I hope that it's part of something bigger, and there's, I don't know. I love Return of the Jedi. It's my favorite Star Wars movie. I want all the Ewoks. I want it all. I finally opened my Emperor in his throne room. What was that? A PulseCon 2 years ago?
Exclusive? Yeah.
It's pretty cool. You know, it's fine. It's the Emperor. Looks good.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Love Palps. It's fine.
Actually, I think every vintage collection Palpatine they've put out has been an amazing toy. Like I have the one from Episode 3, and it's beautiful.
Damn, yeah, Palpatine. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have a face like that, you can kind of capture that likeness.
Hang tight. I'm gonna get it. I'm just gonna go get it.
You go get it. While you do that, guys, a lot of people watching on a kind of a off night on a Friday, so we appreciate you being here. If you can hit that like button, that helps us continue to spread the word of the channel. I should mention too, you might see some people with exclusive emojis and badges. You can join the channel for 99 cents a month. You click the little join channel button, and Ryan shows you Palpatine figures. 99 cents a month. You become a member of the channel. You get the exclusive badges and emojis and all that jazz. Very cool.
Goods.
I'm excited about the Acolyte. I know that's not going to come out for a while, but I think it's going to be a cool. It sounds like it could be cool.
That's exploring the Sith. I think.
Yeah, the Sith. This 100 years before the prequels, and the Sith are infiltrating the Jedi.
Right.
Is that really what it is?
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm in. I'm in.
I started re-listening to the Darth Plagueis audiobook at work today.
Okay.
Oh,
Ooh.
have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Mike, we'll get to you now. So, do you have any predictions or wants for next year?
Oh, you know what? I think Return of the Jedi. I think we've seen them all. I think the HasLab is the throne room. I think the regular play set is going to be the bunker. And you mentioned we got the Emperor set a couple years ago.
Right.
Last year was the alternate Emperor angry face sculpt. That
Right.
was a year ago. I think
still available in a lot of stores.
Yeah, I think they're going to do, like you guys mentioned on the show this week. For the fourth time, they've told us about these brand new Black Series 40th anniversary figures, which I got to
keep revealing them.
So I think I don't expect anything, super interesting beyond what we've seen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I can only hope we get a good rollout of new stuff around Mandalorian. I think they need to make Mandalorian season 3 a very big deal. Like, I think they need to treat it like a movie. Like, I want Force.
Well, it's been
Force
over
Friday.
a year since season 2.
Yeah,
way more than that. I mean, they did Book of Boba Fett last year. It'll be over 2 years once it comes out.
2 years this year, right?
2021, nothing for 2022, 23. So 1 year.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I can't do math.
Oh.
Mandalorian wasn't last December, right? It was
last year was Book of Boba Fett.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the December before was right because the Mandalorian ended in December
of 2021.
Showed you the stick for Book of Boba Fett.
Right. So March. Okay. So we're at 2 years right now.
Yeah. Wow.
Since Luke Skywalker decided to show up,
make us all cry,
make grown men cry. And then he came back for the best episode of Book of Boba Fett.
And in that 2-year gap, the world building we've been able to do with the vintage collection.
Oh, dude. Can you believe we've been able to put together that whole bridge? That whole bridge play set.
I like to do my Hasbro Tim Cook from Apple Witches. We believe it's the finest wave of figures yet. That's my Tim Cook ran Hasbro.
I will say this. Within those 2 years, though, we've gotten the not the Dark Troopers; those have come out. Yep. We've gotten the Ahsoka from season 2. We've gotten I think Luke's coming out this year in Vintage Collection, or he should be out any second now.
Right.
Because I know he's already up for pre-order with Cal Kestis, who is Craig's favorite character, by the way, if you didn't know that, Mike. And we've got who else do I have? I've got Fennec Shand. I've got Bo-Katan, her 2 other homies. I've got a Bill Burr.
You got Axe Woves.
Axe Woves. I got this Din to go with my Bill.
Yep.
Right. I got Brown Eyes here. So really, I mean, we are getting quite a bit of the characters, even though I still think we're missing Carson Teva and we're missing Pelimoto.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, outside of that, we're close to getting everybody. We just
here's the deal. Modern, we're actually getting most of the modern. Oh, whoa!
Now it's my turn.
Now it's your turn. We're getting everything you just said is really. It's kind of a come down to earth moment for collectors. Man, we are getting a lot of these characters. Taking some time, but we're getting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We're missing vehicles, we're missing play sets, and I think most vintage collection collectors are more concerned about the old stuff. Where are these, 30 Cantina aliens that I'm missing in my collection? Or
when are we gonna? They're at the comic shop. They're at your local toy store. Just go. Your local independent comic and toy shop. That's where those Cantina aliens are.
The hardest thing for me, and it's great seeing you bought the Jedi, the Jedi carded figures, and the ones you just showed, is I can't get over the price. But what hurts so bad is I bought both the what did you call him? I can't remember his name. That guy.
Axe Woves.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
I bought Random Mando, which I never thought I'd love this many Mando soldiers,
I
but
bought
I absolutely do.
Yeah. I did some army building myself with those T-visors.
I call Ahsoka still the best figure, but the Dark Side Vader is, if you can believe a Darth Vader figure can still be cool.
It's
Dark
good.
times.
And when you can't say no, I did these 2 weeks ago. I picked up that.
Yep.
There's the Ox Wolves card. Yeah, there's the cards for him. And it's the thing that sucks is I'm not mad. I'm like, oh, like I'm not gonna do I can't remember your segment on your show.
Sad
Comments.
comments.
Sad comments.
Sad comments.
Like you have cost me more money. Like I'm not gonna bitch about it. Like I spent the last year from when we stopped doing the Sandcrawler. I've spent like the last year, like I did not expect to be in this position where I don't know what to do. I don't want to stop what I love. So I've sort of, and probably since the summer, it's like, you know what? Things aren't going to change. You got to change. And the one thing I want to keep being able to do, like I said, is being in my Star Wars room, making new stories with the stuff I have. And if that means, you know, we don't get Pelimoto and we don't get the figures we think we should get, I still love doing this. So I'm going to keep doing it one way or the other. And part of that's going to be basically not buying a lot of brand new figures anymore, you know?
Right.
So
for sure.
But I'm peace and purpose.
Yeah.
Don't say we're not getting Pelimoto. I'm like
we're gonna get Pelimoto.
I'm like Jyn Erso. I'm full of hope.
Hey, rebellions are built on hope. By the way,
Pelimotos are built on hope.
We gave Rogue One a little rewatch. Guess what? Movie's still awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony Gilroy. There's more and more stuff coming out about how much he saved that movie because God knows what it was going to be beforehand, but it is a beautiful movie, and Andor was dude, you want to talk about space wall play sets. Give me the prison from Andor and all of those characters.
Oh, that's the backside of this.
Right.
Just flip this around. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Give me the 6, you know.
That was, you know what, as an auto worker, except for the melty floors, I just love those episodes because a lot of it was just, that's what I do. They you can't stop till they tell you, but they don't kill you, you know. It's a living.
Yet. And we're gonna do more of these. I like doing these State of Star Wars. I think, you know, it's fun, especially there hasn't been any major live streams or major announcements in the last little bit. So we'll definitely try to plan the next one around the next, you know, when they start rolling out stuff in the next. I keep thinking, you know, they announced March 1st for Mandalorian. I keep going, it's so far, it's not very far away at all. Like December is gonna be over before we know it. So
I know
we got some really fun stuff coming up. But before we bail, Mike, go ahead and plug your site and where people can find you on the internet.
Oh, so you can find me now. MikeTarkin.com is Star Wars in my corner of the galaxy. Some reviews, some picture reviews. Follow Yakface and Bantha Skull and everybody else if you want it up to date. But if you want a quick look, I've got some of the pre-order information and stuff like that you can check out. There's a little link if you're still interested in checking out the Sandcrawler from long ago. Everything's up on YouTube. We posted all the audio, so you can revisit that stuff. And I would like to say I posted on social that I was going to be doing this and got a lot of nice comments from people saying, "Oh, I love the Sandcrawler and we miss it." And we miss doing it. It was just you know, we kind of went out on top, I think, and it was before we started screaming and crying on air. You know, it was.
Did you guys end before the Rancor? HasLab? Okay. If I could go back and hear, if you guys could just, you know, do a couple of those and maybe I don't know.
Come back. Yeah, we'll fill in the blanks in the past year.
Yeah.
We'll get Dan to do that.
Yeah.
But MikeTarkin.com. Mike Tarkin on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Hive, but Hive is down, so I guess that doesn't matter.
There you go. And, yeah. Well, this was fun, and we'll have you back, Ryan. Thanks for being you. Thanks for being a Star Wars fan.
I might do a flipping Star Wars tomorrow. Issue 3 of Star Wars Galaxy Magazine. No big deal.
Who knows? Who knows what you're gonna do?
No one.
It's like I said.
I'm chaos.
You just want to see the world burn. And if you guys are new to the channel, if it's the first time you're watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can learn when we're online streaming every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. for Toy Anxiety. Also, we've been asking people to do this, even if you don't listen to Toy Anxiety on the audio feed. go ahead and head over to iTunes, leave a 5-star review. Let us know what you think about the show with a written review, and we're going to use the most fun and creative ones for some of our thumbnails and things like that. Although, boy, there was a comment this week. I think we're going to talk about it on Tuesday. Ryan, you've been called a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
I don't think boring's ever.
Well, I don't think that was directed at me.
No, yeah, he called you an old lady for.
He called me an old lady because I didn't like the heat, and I'm just like, whatever. I don't know where you're from, the sun.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Right.
but whatever. If you like the heat, that's fine.
It was
You're probably
probably, you know what?
He's probably dying in the cold right now.
It was probably like a 17-year-old Luke Skywalker was like, "Shape it up, you guys. You call that a heat wave?"
Do you have polar bears where you come from? Then do not
Yeah.
question.
Right?
I have
Like
2 sons where I live.
like what was, yeah, right? Like it was such a weird comment 'cause it was like, are you from Vancouver? Like, who are you? Like, okay. And it to me it was actually more funny. It was just like, this is the most boring podcast, the most boring YouTube show. And I was just like, all right, buddy, it ain't for you. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for your feedback.
Not everything's for everybody. But
Yeah.
Give us your
also-
information and we'll refund you. We're sorry.
yeah.
That's the thing I always love. Is like, okay, I'm sorry you're so upset with this free content we're giving you.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We'll work even harder just for you, pal.
Yeah.
we
it was
will.
for you.
We will. We will. We'll get those Death Star parts built in record time next week.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Now you're right. I do want that play set. I want the jail cell just so I can say it's the new Disney hotel.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, 100%.
God, it did.
Yeah.
It felt like they're like, where are they holding Andor? He's on the Star Cruiser.
Sir.
Oh no.
He has an agenda. He has to follow it for 2 days, for 6 years.
Yeah. He snuck on. He wanted an immersive experience, but didn't have $7,000.
The food plan's just going to be a hose coming out of the wall with slurry coming out of it.
Yeah. I keep saying that I'm gonna go to the Star Cruiser when it's like 10 years from now and it's kind of janky. I'm like, your screen doesn't really work.
Flickers.
You know, yeah, just
cracking
kind of
it.
flickering. There's a Windows logo bouncing around.
Star Wars
what-
has been sold to another company. Disney doesn't even own it anymore. They're just letting the IP run out.
Oh man.
No,
Next
now
time
it's
we're
called
gonna.
Space Mountain Hotel.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't even. Right. Tomorrow World. Welcome to the Carousel of Progress Microtel Inn. I think next time let's brainstorm what it would be like if another company took over and started from scratch. And Hasbro didn't make Star Wars.
They
toys
reboot it.
anymore.
They start again. Episode 4, new cast.
No, not the movies, the toys.
There we go. Ezra Miller as Han Solo.
Yep. Oh my god. Oh boy.
Instead of the Falcon, he's driving a little speeder bike.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Great. That's what's gonna be. All right, guys. For Mr. Mike Tyerkin and Ryan Dole, my name is Craig Goldberg. Thank you guys for hanging out in the chat on a Friday night. Have a wonderful, safe, happy, blessed weekend. Buy a toy, stay stressed, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody. Music. Cue music.
Dude, I want those 12-inch Power of the Force figures.
Yeah, get them.
I'm gonna get them.
I've only got 2. I've got my buddy and I've got X-Wing Luke.
Nice.
Bye, guys. Whoops. There we go.
Whoa!